Only on Fox 5, fooling drivers into buying stolen vehicles. It's becoming a nationwide issue, including here at home. It is a transaction that's done mainly through social media.
The DMV's Compliance Enforcement Division is on top of catching people doing this illegal act. Fox News' Danny Maston is in studio telling us more about the process and how police are able to detect all these transactions.
Yeah, Jacqueline, John, what happens is thieves will steal a car. Then to cover it up, they take a VIN number from a similar make and model of a car and make fake VIN plates that they will then place onto the stolen car. I tagged along with the DMV's Compliance Enforcement Division, who went undercover to catch thieves selling a stolen vehicle and show you the process.
All right, Robert 100 is mobile.
Searching, catching, and cracking down on thieves selling stolen vehicles is a priority for the DMV's Compliance Enforcement Division.
We try to find the ones that are on social media being sold to Nevada citizens.
Off Facebook.
Facebook, okay.
Social media being the main source of this illegal transaction.
There's a subculture that advertises license plates and temporary tags and vehicles for sale on social media websites that aren't necessarily designed for that.
Through the DMV VIN inspection station, the Compliance Enforcement Division gets 1 to 2 stolen vehicles per week. It finds around 1 per month online, where the team goes undercover and recovers over $1 million in vehicles per year. The team will go undercover pretending to buy these stolen vehicles that are posted online. While waiting for a response, they locate the targeted vehicle through surveillance and stake out in the area.
Sitting on the vehicle and making sure that if it moved, that we had officers on it.
Our subjects are in the target vehicle.
When the car moves, so do the officers.
Copy. Robert 100 will be behind 342 and 330. Initiated a traffic stop at which we determined that the vehicle had a fictitious license plate and was driven by someone who failed to identify themselves. You can come on up. The plate does not match the VIN. So now we'll wait for our vehicle expert, the sergeant that's running the operation. He's going to come up and he's going to take a look at the confidential VIN.
If the VIN does come back as stolen, the car gets towed and is returned to the current legal owner.
The division says these are some things that you will want to look out for. If it is cash price only, advertised on social media, comes from out of state, or is priced significantly low. Back to you.